And we are back. You just heard Ware River Club with the song List, the Outpatients. The song is called Barriers to Bridges, and Deep Wound with the song Video Prick.
Some great tunes. And you're listening to the New Music Alliance Radio Hour. I'm Mark Ramone, joined today with our special guest host, Scott Helland. Let's go to Ware River Club with List. I didn't realize you were playing in this.
Yeah, yeah. That's the record that came out. The record was called Cathedral. I think it came out in 2004. I
Yep.
played with them from about 2002 to 2004. I just joined that band on a whim. They were looking for a bass player to fill in for a tour, and I was, still living in New York. I was, living in New York already at the time. And it just seemed that kind of interesting opportunity for me. I had already switched to acoustic guitar and hadn't been playing bass that much, so it gave me an opportunity to go back and play bass. And it was really interesting joining them because they're an Americana band, that kind of rock and roll American kind of thing. And it's not really what was used to playing. I grew up playing in hardcore and punk rock and stuff, and the stuff I do with Frenchy The Punk. It's a different kind of style, so it was really cool to play that kind of music, and it's a different style of bass playing. I had to really kind of pull back, like, oh yeah, it's a different, with the heavier stuff, it's like about riffs and right hand and da, 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 and filling up the space. Whereas with the Ware River Club, it was a little bit more, root notes and little melodic lines, almost like your Paul McCartney type bass lines. So it was good to get back and do that. Like, whoa,
It's good to try something different.
absolutely.
I love the gravelly vocals too. It kind of reminds me of Mark Lanigan and Screaming Trees a little bit.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Matt's got a cool voice and cool songwriter. Still doing stuff.
Mm.
It was a fun band.
And this is such a classic alternative sound overall. You could play this for a Gen Z kid right now and explain that this is basically what indie music sounded like in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
And where River Club?
They're Ware River Club. Yeah, they were based in where are they at? Yeah. They basically were kind of basically based around the East Hampton, Northampton area.
Well, before that, Outpatients, Barriers to Bridges. Uh, did you have to remaster this and re-release it?
We did, yeah. We recorded in Boston. I think that song was recorded in Boston, Massachusetts in 1983, at a place called Radio Beat Records, and the masters were lost. So we had cassette tapes. So we had to pull those from cassette tapes and bring them into a masterer, and yeah, just kind of try to make something of it. It was okay. It's a little crusty in some spots, but worked out
That's
pretty
good
good.
though. That's
Yeah,
good for
it's a little bit of a different song for the Outpatients. Outpatients was, hardcore band. And this song really had some like kind of almost like indie rock melodic parts. It wasn't straight up hardcore like we usually play.
did you I think you opened up for quite a few bands.
Yeah, the Outpatients, God, we played with some of the great bands from that, early 80s era, like Black Flag, GBH, Husker Du, the Cro-Mags, Agnostic Front. It just goes on and on. Lists of tons of great bands from, that hardcore explosion in the
Great
early 80s.
experiences overall.
Oh yeah, yeah, super fun. When I started playing that stuff, I was like 12, 13, 14, 15, somewhere in there. And soon after my dad passed away, and when I was 15, it was just like such a blow for your kid to lose his dad. I got along with him. He was super, I got along with him great. So the hardcore scene and playing that music was really important because it was sort of like an exorcism. I could just get out the frustrations and just like
Mm.
being freaked out, like, oh my dad died. What, so you play hardcore. It was like an exorcism, really. It really helped. And you'd go to these shows, and it was like a scene. It was like a family of kids that were just all like, ah. It's like exactly what I needed. And it was a healthy thing. It was like playing music. It wasn't like I was like drinking on the corner,
Right. I'm glad you highlighted the positive side of that. Yeah.
yeah,
Unfortunate that you lost your father, but it's good that you had a healthy alternative to help cope for that.
totally.
And you start off with Deep Wound with Video Prick off of Almost Complete in 2006. Was that re-released too?
Yeah, that was re-released because we recorded that as well in 1983 or late 82 at Radio Beat in Boston. And that was the first Deep Moon record, the first record I ever played on. I think I was 14. And Deep Moon was the band I met, Lou Barlow in high school. And then we put a flyer up around Western Mass and in Amherst looking for a drummer who could play super fast. And Jay Mascis answered the ad.
Aren't we glad he did?
Yes, totally. That Deep Wound started it all, basically, for all of us. That was the
Man,
catalyst.
unbelievable. This song is like the audio version of a mosh pit. If anybody wants to know what it's like to be in a mosh pit, just listen to this song. I can like visualize people pushing each other in a mosh pit.
Yeah, well, you'd have probably check out the rest of that EP too. That first Deep Wound EP, it's even more.
I love it. So Scott, didn't you get back together and play with Jay Mascis and Lou Barlow recently?
With Dinosaur Jr., yeah, we played the Williamsburg, the Music Hall of Williamsburg in Brooklyn. They had I think it's their 30th year anniversary for the record "Where You Been," and of course they played out there. But I always go up and play a tune with them when they're in town. And there's that we did an amazing show out in Boston. I had a show in Boston like on the Friday night with Frenchy The Punk out in Somerville, Mass. And then the next day, Dinosaur was opening up for the Foo Fighters at Fenway Park
Oh,
in Boston. So I wasn't going to pass that up, but I had a show with Frenchy and Punk in Connecticut that night in New Haven as well,
oh,
which is insane. So of course, being the crazy person I am, I did all three shows, of course. So anyway, yeah, so we got to play the four of us, the original members or the three original members of Deep Wound, got to play in front of 20,000 people of a Foo Fighters crowd at Fenway Park, and it's just kind of, it was it's a real thing because Deep Wound played little hardcore punk rock clubs and stuff. So the fact that we got to do that was pretty remarkable, and it's really cool to be able to say, yeah, we got to play at Fenway Park. And as soon as I got off stage, I jumped in the van and drove, 2.5 hours or whatever it is, straight down to New Haven to play a 35-seat club.
sounds like a hectic day, but definitely an opportunity of a lifetime
Yeah,
to
you don't
do
want to miss
that.
that. Yeah.
I remember seeing on, I think it was Facebook or something, the next day that you did that. I'm like, oh, I wish I was there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there is a video on YouTube of the Deep Wound performance at Fenway Park.
Oh, I gotta look it up.
And I think it's on the French in a Punk YouTube page.
Oh, cool. And
Yeah.
which is
Which is youtube.com/Frenchy and the Punk. And that's Frenchy with a Y.
I love it. All right. So what do we have coming up for our next block?
Next block, we're going to play some of my instrumental music, which is Guitarmy of One. And Guitarmy of One is instrumental spy kind of music I have. And then after that is Mark Mulcahy.
Excellent. So let's go to Guitarmy of One with Kolchak meets the Sea Mobster.